I'm a bit perplexed that I haven't got this particular instrument out earlier in this series, given that this is my workhorse horn. This is the instrument which I always turn to. This is a original Marcel Auguste Raoux chord orchestre, so orchestral horn. The crooks are at the beginning of the instrument. And I'm fortunate enough to have this horn in its original box with all the crooks and even a couple of mouthpieces. Had this for several years. It's my go-to instrument. I love this instrument. It's a joy to play. And one of the nice little things about this instrument is it's actually got a plaque on the top of the box with the name of its original owner, a horn player called Opezzi, who, having done a bit of research on him, I'm certain he must be Italian with a name like Opezzi, and he was one of the horn players for the opera house in Lyon round about the 1830s onwards. So I suspect, given when Marcel Auguste Raoux started off, and we've got the name and the address here, I reckon this is probably from the 1830s, this instrument. And I've decided, okay, an Italian musician working in a French opera house, to choose an Italian musician working in French opera houses, Cherubini. So this week I am performing the first of the two Cherubini sonatas for horn and strings, a work that dates from about 1804. And Cherubini, massively important in the French school. Many operas that he was writing towards the end of the 18th, beginning of the 19th century, which were really very influential, and also a major figure at the Paris Conservatoire. He was director there for quite a while. Berlioz and him didn't get on. And so that's the piece I've decided to play this week. Now, one thing which is curious about how I'm approaching this piece, the Cherubini Sonata, it's an interesting piece. For starters, the name Sonata is a little strange. It's not a traditional three movement sonata. Both of the Cherubini sonatas are single movement works, and neither do they conform to a sonata form. So it's more sonata in the sonare to sound, meaning a bit like cantare to sing, cantata, cantare to sing, sonare, sonata. So it's a sounding. And I think that's really obvious in the second sonata, which starts with a very improvised, accompanied recitative style. So it feels like you're making a statement. But the first sonata just has a chord, an F major chord for the whole ensemble, and a pause. And I take this as an indication that I am to prelude. A bit like if you have a piece of music and towards the end there's a cadence point, maybe it indicates a trill and a fermata, a pause, which is an indication that I should improvise a cadenza. Preluding is something which has a lot in common with cadenzas, and it's something that's really kind of died out, which is a bit of a shame. It has a lot of similar roles to a cadenza. A cadenza is an opportunity for you to show off your individuality, but you're showing off your technical prowess, maybe how high or how low you can play, brilliant scales and fireworks of arpeggios, but you're also showing off how musical you are. You're showing that you understand the piece of music that this cadenza is part of. So you might reference motifs from the piece. You show that you understand the character, the affect of the piece. And preludes are the same. You get a chance to show off something of your individuality, your technique, your musicality. But there's some also really nifty things which are very practical about preluding. I find thresholds fascinating, and I find the movement from being off stage to on stage, from how you traverse that threshold, really interesting part of what we do as performers. And there's a lot of technical challenges. So, for example, your instrument may be going from a warm environment to a cold environment, or vice versa. The humidity might be changing, and that has implications for how the instrument responds. Also, and this is strange right now when a lot of us are performing to empty halls, you have this phenomena where you rehearse in an environment and then the audience turn up, and the sheer act of them being there means the acoustic changes, often drastically, and that's something you have to navigate quite quickly. And there's other things like, for example, we tune at the beginning of a concert, and preluding offers a nice opportunity for us to navigate this, for us to tune, for us to work out how this is all working in a musical way. So we can do an improvisation at the beginning of a performance that helps us locate ourselves, but in a musical fashion. And there's some other nice bits and pieces. It's a very good way of getting an audience to settle down. It's a way of announcing that you're beginning your performance. But sometimes you can use it mid-performance as a way to move from one piece to another. It's very good, especially if you're changing crooks. You can get the pianist to improvise a bit and then you join in. You can actually use that as a modulation through different keys. So there is a super practical way of, in a creative fashion, navigating some of the challenges of performance. So the prelude I'm doing isn't actually one of my own devising, it's one I've stolen. This piece, I said 1804, we don't really know who Cherubini was writing for. Around that time, Devenoir and Domnich were some of the prime players. But I've actually taken a cadenza from Dopra. This is one of his sample cadenzas from his big method, and I think it rather suits the Cherubini Sonata. So we've got Cherubini Sonata number 1, played on my 1830s Marcel Auguste Raoux chord orchestre, incorporating Dopra cadenza. If you've been enjoying these, do like, subscribe, and then you can be keeping up to date with all the material I'm producing. But hope you enjoy.